Don't miss our first look review at the brand new Battletome for Age of Sigmar. It's the Kharadron Overlords. Spiky bits. What's up, Hobby Maniacs? Rob Baer back with you again today, taking a look at this awesome new faction for Age of Sigmar. These guys are dope. They have the Sky Pirates, they have the squats in the skies. I don't even know what else to say about these guys. You know who they are. You've been seeing them all over the place for months/weeks now. And now it's time to see just how cool these guys are. If you're on the edge of Age of Sigmar, you definitely might want to consider jumping into the game once you see how cool these rules and the models are in the accompanying videos on here. First up, we got the War Scroll cards coming out this week. There's 12 different War Scrolls in here, and of course some of the markers and things that you need for the game itself and to play with them. Now there's 12 different ones. Like I said, this is a $15 set, and of course standard War Scroll card size. Personally, I don't like the size. I think they wasted a lot of space down here. They could have made it at least half the size and made the font and everything a lot bigger, but this seems to be what Games Workshop's going with. So take it or leave it. Sometimes they're sold out, sometimes they're back in stock, as we saw with the very first ones for the Age of Sigmar sold out, but now apparently they're back in stock. These apparently were on Games Workshop site sold out. I can't tell you if they're back in stock or not, but they seem to be very popular indeed. Now, this, obviously, you're going to need a copy of the rules to go along with the cards, but these are game aids that help you on the tabletop. And then the Battletome itself is a $40 set or $40 book that features 144 pages of fluff, paint guides, believe it or not, new mechanics, strategy, tips and tactics, all sorts of things that we've never seen in a Battletome. So this is for 2017 what Sylvaneth was to 2016. This is up in the standard for the Battletomes from Age of Sigmar. Of course, it has, you know, the fantastic glossy cover, all the stuff that you come to expect, and here's a breakdown of what comes in here. Of course, we've got allegiance abilities, artifacts of power, you got your battle plans, you got your war scrolls. There's 5 different war scroll battalions, because remember, there's only 12 different war scrolls, so I mean, there's only so many different ways you can do this stuff here. There's 6 different particular ways you can field armies called the rules of the skyports. So each particular skyport has a particular way that you can field it. Some are goody two-shoes, some are a little on the pirate side. So it all kind of lends to a person's particular style of play, which I thought was pretty neat. Now looking at the contents here, you'll notice that yes, there is the typical fluff section that you would come to expect. Now there's a lot of stuff in here. We're going to flip through some of the pictures, but not spend a whole lot of time on it, because I think by now, if you've been watching the internets, you've seen all of the fluff that you can probably handle at this point. Already made your decision if you're going to jump into these guys. So it's more of like what's the features and things that are in this particular book here, right? So you got prospectors and privateers. These are your specific who's-y, what's-its of the actual faction itself, and where they go into giving you a little bit more fluff on the specifics. Now there's a lot of stuff in here about specific ships, not necessarily specific people, because I guess the fluff hasn't kind of evolved that far yet. And then you've got the Glory of the Skyports section, which is a little bit more fluff, but more on the paint schemes, exactly how to paint them, the different skyports, some of the features like doing the glyphs and different things, symbols and markings, and even how to put them together in some different sub-assembly kind of ideas for you, because some of these models are challenging and they're also very expensive, because so you don't, you know, you want to make sure that you don't mess them up, basically, right? And then it gets into the kind of the crux of the rules, and there's a whole lot of different stuff in here, and you can see you've got the 6 different skyports that you can have specific rules for. Then you've got the rule section, which is your abilities, your artifacts, all that stuff. It's all in here. Then it jumps to your artifacts of power. They don't have magic, so to speak. They're more suited for dispelling magic, which you're going to see. Now remember, this is not our tips and tactics. That follows the week after, as we break down all of the rules and things and give you ideas on what's good, what's bad, what to look out for, maybe some different combinations and dirty things that you can do on a tabletop. Conversely, things that you might need to know for if you're going up against these guys, right? So that kind of gives you some ideas there. So then it jumps into the battle plans, which are the specific missions that you can use when playing with these guys. Path to Glory campaign stuff, which we've seen in the past, your warband tables for those, of course. Theming your army, deployments and tactics, which is something we hadn't seen in the past. Then it goes into the 5 different battalions, the War Scroll battalions, and the 12 different War Scrolls themselves. Again, we're not going to break down each and every rule. We are going to show you some dope stuff. But so here's some of the fluff and some of the really cool looking. There's the, what is this, a scalp hammer? I think they call that. It's not a thunder hammer, it's a scalp hammer. And then here's some of the different realms that they have to go to acquire some of their supplies. And of course, they also like to trade. Now they've seen that there's cities being established. They can definitely spring up and do some trading. They have their particular rules, of course, that they go by, very similar to Star Trek's Ferengi's rules of acquisition. I believe there's like nearly 300 of those. There isn't quite as many rules for the Sky Pirates, but you kind of get the idea there for sure. Lots of galleries and things, and then of course they got the section, the heavy metal section, where it shows you all the fantastically and wonderfully painted miniatures themselves. They're all in here just to get those hobby juices going. And then, very new feature here, they show you how to paint the models. You don't have to buy a paint guide to go along with these. Now, sure, this is content that's probably going to show up in the White Dwarf and get reused, but you know what? I'm okay with that, because I think if you show folks how to paint their stuff and some ideas for doing all this stuff, then you're probably going to get a little bit more money on the back end, sales-wise, on hobby products, right? That's just my idea right there, but maybe that's what they're trying out. So you can see the 6 different major skyports all have a specific color scheme in mind. Now this is, you know, it's going with layers and it's going with shades. It's not going to be the quick way. It's going to be the longhand method, so to speak. But it's still a great guide to go by just to get those color schemes down and know what paints to buy. Then you got your features, you know, your ports and your metals and weathering things and doing all that sort of stuff. Even Vendigris using vanilla oxide, weathering the hull, all that stuff, your scratches, very cool stuff, symbols and markings, doing your scenic base from all of the new plastic Age of Sigmar component kits that you can do, or conversely, you know, you can just make your own, and here's some paint schemes for it, or you can just use, you know, the straight up black base. It doesn't matter. Tips and tricks on assemblies. So they're really going hard in the paint, and then even on the artifacts themselves, going hard in the paint on all that. Then it gets into the rules themselves. Like I said, just like a typical Allegiance, War Scroll, Battletome, you're gonna have, if you play these guys this way, you get these bonuses, right? Now we're not going to get into all of the rules, but this is just some ideas. So the skyports are 6 different ones, and each one has a specific ability and command traits and artifacts of power. But there's also generic artifacts of power too. So here you go. You kind of see how that all works. There's the 6 different ones, and each one is going to have, of course, an ability, a command trait, and a War Scroll battalion that does something a little bit different. Like this particular one right here gives you +1 any unbinding rolls within a certain range of the heroes. I think they let you move faster. Any units within 3 inches of the general do not have to take battle shock test, and all the Sky Command battalions can include any number of etheric navigators, which is going to allow them to move an extra D3 inches in the movement phase, as long as they have a line of sight to those. And I think that is the big stuff there. Attempt to unbind, so you can unbind too. So that kind of gives you an idea. Now there's 6 of these, like I said. We're not going to show them all to you. Then you get into your generic Allegiance abilities, which of course very similar to what we've seen in the past from all the Battletomes. You got your battle traits you can choose from. This is that whole like stick to the code kind of type deal, and it's kind of neat because the code, I think what you do is, oh, this is their battle trait ability. They have to stick to the code ability, and then the artifacts of power. There's 3 different kind of ways to choose from them. You can have a particular one for a sky vessel. You can give it to your hero, and you can also from a piece of war gear, and then also a weapon up here. And remember, you can take multiple of these the more battalions you have, and of course the battalion is an exciting way to kind of just build up and collect your collection or your models into a specific collection that then allows you to unlock specific abilities, which seems to be kind of G-Dub's kind of hallmark type thing there. And then there's your command traits. So lots of cool stuff here that you can just pick from Here's your battle plans. We're not really going to talk about those, but there's a bunch of those, and their Path to Glory stuff, all kind of sandwiched in before you get to the War Scroll battalions, which here they are right here, and it explains how it all works with the abilities in the allegiance. Obviously, make sure you read all the fine print to see exactly how they all work. So, like I said, there's only 5 of these, but remember, there's only 12 War Scrolls in the whole book, so that kind of makes sense, I feel like. And this one here looks pretty neat. These are all the jump pack troops, so haven't really dug through it all. Like I said, this is more of a first look kind of unboxing. Hey, are you gonna like this? Hey, check out all this cool stuff in here. And we haven't even got to, on the back side of the War Scrolls, there's gonna be more on how to field tactics on how to field these guys, right? So here's your 2 hero guys right off the bat, and then the generic hero mans right there, your ships. And this is really interesting because there's rules for embarking and disembarking models, which may be kind of how they go about doing this for 8th edition 40k. Like, this might be a kind of thing to keep an eye on, because we know embarking and disembarking, the way vehicles work in 40k isn't exactly the best right now, but it is a bulky game. It's a little bloated, but hopefully they kind of streamline it. I still have a few questions here we're going to talk about in our tips and tactics, but be aware that this may be a test bed for something coming over to 40k, which we already know they're already porting over a ton of Age of Sigmar style rules. And there's your pitch battle profiles, which have all of your points cost on them. Now, something I did want to show you, which I must have skimmed right over, I didn't see it, was, here it is. So they also have a deployment and tactics, like how to actually play the army, which we hadn't seen in a long time. And I suppose because of the new mechanics, this was a great idea. Now, I would have loved to see something like that with the Sylvaneth, because how they interacted with the trees and things like that, or the Sylvaneth. But, you know, that's kind of water on the bridge at this point. But going forward, I think this is a great idea that really will help out a lot of new players out there that I imagine are going to jump on board with this particular release. So that's pretty much it. It looks to be at, you know, just scratching the surface with our little unboxing review right here. A very interesting new way of playing Age of Sigmar with some very interesting, very fluffy and characterful kind of rules inbound. Now, if you liked all of our video features, make sure you subscribe to our channel here on, well, click somewhere up in there. I'm sure something will pop up at some point. Support us over on Patreon to get a monthly shipment of miniatures delivered to your door each month or each quarter, depending on what you want there. And of course, head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. Thelongwar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.